When 78-year-old Martha went in for her routine checkup, she expected reassurance. Her blood pressure was stable, her cholesterol under control, and she felt fine. But after a few new tests, the doctor found something unusual, a shadow on her scan. What followed were weeks of extra appointments, anxiety, sleepless nights, and a costly biopsy that finally came back benign. I felt like I'd been through a storm for nothing, she said. By the time it was over, I was more tired than I'd ever been. Stories like Martha's are becoming more common, not because doctors mean harm, but because modern medicine often treats every finding as a problem, especially after 70. We're taught to believe that the more checkups we have, the longer we'll live. But new research is uncovering a shocking twist. Too many tests too often may actually shorten life, not extend it. How can that be? Because after a certain age, the body tells a different story, and aggressive testing can trigger unnecessary treatments, stress, and even physical harm. Medical professionals now call it overdiagnosis when we discover something that isn't truly dangerous, but we treat it as if it were. And for older adults, that treatment can do more damage than the condition itself. So in this video, we'll uncover 5 eye-opening reasons why excessive medical checkups after 70 can quietly reduce your quality of life and even your lifespan if not handled wisely. This isn't anti-medicine, it's pro-awareness. Because being informed helps you stay calm, confident, and in control of your health. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Senior Ways, where we explore how to live longer, not by doing more, but by doing what truly matters. Now let's start with the first surprising truth, the kind that doctors don't always talk about openly. Reason number 1, overdiagnosis. When finding more creates more fear. 76-year-old Harold once said, "Doctors love finding things in me I never asked them to look for." He went in for a routine blood test and ended up getting scans for a possible liver issue. It turned out to be a harmless fatty spot, but not before he spent 3 weeks believing he had cancer. That experience, while emotionally painful, is far from rare. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that up to 30% of medical findings in older adults fall under overdiagnosis. These are small, slow-growing, or harmless conditions that would never have caused symptoms or death if left alone. But once they're found, the medical system feels compelled to treat them. That means biopsies, medications, or even surgeries that carry real risks, all for problems that never needed fixing. The danger isn't just physical, it's psychological. Stress hormones like cortisol skyrocket during fear and uncertainty. In seniors, this can weaken immunity, raise blood pressure, and increase the risk of heart events. Harold said it best. "The diagnosis wasn't what hurt me, it was the fear of what might come next." The takeaway: after 70, not every finding is a crisis. Some things in the body are simply part of aging, not evidence of disease. The wisest doctors focus on how you feel, not just what machines detect. Reason number 2, the hidden stress of constant testing. 80-year-old Grace used to visit her doctor every 3 months just to stay safe. But after years of blood tests, x-rays, and scans, she noticed something strange. She felt worse after her appointments. "I would get anxious days before," she said. "If the doctor even paused while looking at a screen, my heart would start racing." That's not just emotion, it's biology. A study from the University of California found that older adults who undergo frequent medical testing have higher baseline cortisol levels, a sign of chronic stress. And chronic stress shortens telomeres, the DNA caps that protect cells from aging. In other words, too much medical worry can accelerate the aging process itself. Grace eventually reduced her checkups to twice a year, just enough to monitor what mattered. "I still take care of myself," she said, "but I've stopped living from one test to another." It's a quiet truth few people talk about. Every test carries an invisible emotional weight. For some seniors, it's heavier than the disease they fear. So if you notice dread building before each doctor visit, it may be time to pause, not to stop caring for your health, but to protect your peace of mind. Because peace, too, is medicine. Reason number 3, the prescription trap. When preventive pills become the problem. When 79-year-old Walter went for his annual physical, The doctor said everything looked fine, except his borderline cholesterol and slightly elevated sugar levels. "It's nothing to worry about," the doctor said, "but let's start you on a low-dose statin just in case." By the next year, Walter was taking 4 medications, 1 for cholesterol, 1 for blood pressure, 1 for glucose, and 1 for the side effects of the other 3. "I felt dizzy, sleepy, and weaker than before," he said. "I was trying to stay healthy, but I started feeling sick from the medicine itself." This is the hidden side of overchecking and overprescribing. When doctors find even the smallest irregularity, the reflex is often to medicate. But every drug has side effects, and for seniors, those effects compound like interest. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University estimate that more than 40% of adults over 70 take 5 or more prescription drugs every day. This is called polypharmacy, and it's one of the biggest unspoken health risks for the elderly. Why? Because the more medications you take, the higher your risk of drug interactions, dizziness, confusion, or even falls, the #1 cause of serious injury among older adults. Walter's new geriatric specialist eventually adjusted his prescriptions, focusing only on what truly improved his quality of life. "Now I take 2 pills," he said, "and I feel 20 years younger." The lesson: medication can save lives, but it can also steal life's energy if used without necessity. After 70, the goal isn't to chase perfect lab numbers, it's to protect how you feel, move, and live. So the next time a doctor recommends a new pill, ask, "Do I truly need this, or is it just precaution?" That single question can save your body from a lifetime of fatigue and imbalance. Reason number 4, the danger of invasive follow-ups. When the cure hurts more than the condition. 82-year-old Clara still remembers the day her doctor called about an abnormal scan. It could be nothing, he said, but we should check. What followed was a spiral of procedures, a colonoscopy, a biopsy, and finally a minor surgery that left her weak for weeks. The result benign, no cancer, no threat. Clara wasn't angry, but she was exhausted. It felt like my health got worse because I was trying so hard to prove it was fine. This is what many seniors unknowingly face: a cycle of false alarms and unnecessary follow-ups. Modern imaging technology is incredibly sensitive. It detects every tiny spot, shadow, and variation. But the older the body gets, the more imperfections appear: harmless, cysts, calcium deposits, tissue changes that are normal signs of aging. Doctors call these findings incidentalomas, incidental findings that rarely matter. Yet once they appear on a scan, most patients are sent for invasive tests just to be sure. Each of those procedures carries risks, anesthesia reactions, internal bleeding, infection, or prolonged recovery times. And the stress of waiting for results can trigger insomnia, appetite loss, or even depression. The British Medical Journal reports that for adults over 75, many invasive procedures do not extend life expectancy and can even shorten it by weakening the body's resilience. Clara now takes a different approach. "If I feel good, I let myself be," she says. "I'd rather spend my energy living than testing." That doesn't mean ignoring symptoms. It means balancing caution with common sense. If something feels wrong, always get it checked. But if you feel well, and the only thing wrong is what a machine found, it's okay to ask, "Will this test change how we treat me, or just how much I worry?" Because wisdom in old age isn't about doing everything possible. It's about knowing when to say, "Enough. I choose peace." Reason number 5, the fear factor. When anxiety becomes the real disease. 80-year-old Sam had always been healthy. No chronic conditions, no major issues, just a little arthritis and occasional fatigue. But after his neighbor passed away, he started visiting doctors more frequently just to be safe. Each visit brought more lab tests, scans, and follow-ups. Soon he began to wake up with a knot in his stomach every morning. "I used to feel fine," he said, "until I started checking for what might go wrong." That's what doctors now call health anxiety, when fear of illness becomes more harmful than the illness itself. And it's spreading quietly among seniors. The University of Michigan's Institute for Healthcare Policy found that older adults who constantly worry about disease and pursue repeated unnecessary checkups have double the risk of developing chronic anxiety and depression. And that mental stress directly impacts the body: higher blood pressure, inflammation, weaker immunity, and poor sleep, all of which shorten lifespan more than most diseases ever could. Sam's turning point came when his new physician, an older doctor himself, told him something unexpected. Let's stop looking for what's wrong and start noticing what's right. They agreed on one annual physical but focused more on living well, exercise, social connections, nutrition, and hobbies. Within a few months, Sam's blood pressure normalized, his sleep returned, and as he said, "I stopped waiting to get sick and started living again." Fear is powerful. It can protect you or paralyze you. The key is not to avoid care, but to stop letting fear of disease become a disease of its own. At 70, your peace of mind is just as vital as your blood pressure. Final thoughts. Let's pause and look back at what we've learned today. First, we saw how overdiagnosis can turn harmless findings into emotional storms, leading to stress, unnecessary treatment, and lost peace. Second, we learned that constant testing raises anxiety and stress hormones that quietly accelerate aging. Third, we explored the prescription trap, how each new pill can lead to another until medications begin to harm the very health they were meant to protect. Fourth, we discussed invasive follow-ups, where the desire to be safe can sometimes cause more damage than the condition itself. And finally, we faced the fear factor, the truth that too much medical attention can make us sicker through stress, worry, and loss of joy. But this isn't a call to avoid doctors. It's a reminder to choose wisely. You deserve care that brings you confidence, not confusion. Good medicine respects both your body and your peace. If this video gave you a new perspective on your health journey, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Senior Ways, where we help you live longer by living smarter, calmer, and freer. And before you go, remember this. After 70, good health isn't just about numbers or test results. It's about balance, knowing when to check, when to rest, and when to simply trust yourself. Ask your doctor questions. Speak up if something feels unnecessary. And never forget, your body has carried you through decades of storms. It deserves care that listens, not fear that overwhelms. As Martha, the woman from our story, said with a smile, "I still see my doctor, but now I see myself too." From all of us at Senior Ways, thank you for being here, for thinking deeply, living wisely, and reminding the world that longevity isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things.